996-5555, Jacksonville.
Look, this next phase it's good to be able to do a little competition and compete against each other.
You know, our staff is here's kind of where we're at with it is the depth chart. There's none right now. So you're going to see a bunch of different combinations when you're out there because we want to see guys line up safety, corner, nickel. Like we want to see them line up at all these different positions and give everybody an opportunity as we go through the OTA practices. It's really important.
They've continued to talk and will talk and they're working hard and tirelessly and you know, I just gotta coach Trevor and coach football, and hopefully it gets done, and it will.
1010XL 92.5 FM presents Jaguars Today with your host Tony Smith and Dylan Denmark.
Oh, still one name missing there from the intro today, but Mike Dempsey recovering on assignment. He likely to be back tomorrow with us here on Jaguars Today, but it does sound like the issue with the kidney stone is at least past. The surgery is done, and he'll be back with us tomorrow and regale us with the tale of whatever it is that he's been going through the last 3 or 4 days, and all the men and women out there who have experienced the kidney stone thing before can all relate to whatever Mike's been dealing with. Again, second time for him that he's had to go through this process, but expected to be back with us tomorrow. Tom McManus will be on the show with us tomorrow. Tony Smith, Dylan Denmark with you here today as we get rolling. It is a Thursday here on Jaguars Today. We'll have Mike DiRocco joining us in the second hour of the program this morning. Pockets. I did see something over at CBS with Will Brinson that I want to get into. I almost think he was listening to the show.
Oh, yeah? What happened?
Yesterday, I'll get into the details of that a little bit later, but I think he was listening to the show with the way that he was willing to talk about specifically the Houston Texans and where Jacksonville may relate to them in the division. Now, it's a bit of an odd thing because Brinson's article is from a gambling perspective with the win totals for all these teams and what he would do if, say, he was betting his own money on the win totals for all the teams in the AFC South. But it is interesting that it's related, at least to what I was saying, especially yesterday, regarding Houston and Jacksonville and how big the gap may be between those two teams in the AFC South. The Chad and Sandy real estate question of the day today asking, who will be the Jaguars' best player in the secondary this year? I think last year you asked this kind of question and everyone would answer Tyson Campbell with a bullet, right? There wouldn't be a whole lot of time to even think about it. As I discussed with Johnny O yesterday, you know, and maybe we'll ask this tomorrow, but at some point we'll ask something along the lines of who can you least afford to lose on this football team for any significant period of time? Trevor Lawrence would be on that list, obviously, right? And last year, there was a debate about who that man would be on the defensive side of the ball, right? Whether that would be Josh Allen or Tyson Campbell. And there were plenty of arguments for both sides of that, right? Like which player on defense is least expendable for the 2023 Jaguars. I was solidly on the Josh Allen camp, but I've been solidly in the Josh Allen camp for a while now, right? Right? Like unapologetically, very strongly in the Josh Allen camp. We talked about it last offseason. I would have been willing to give him the big deal then. I obviously would have been willing to give him the big deal at the end of this season. In the end, the deal gets done for less than I would have been willing to pay for Josh Allen. So I'm very happy with the way the entire situation played out in the end, that Josh Allen's going to be here for a second contract with the Jaguars, and he's going to be getting paid very fairly for his time here in Jacksonville. But last year we asked this kind of the question about who can the Jaguars least afford to lose, and Tyson Campbell would have been a popular answer. I'm curious to see how this is going to play out today with just asking who will be the best player in the Jaguars secondary this year. Your options in the poll that I included, Tyson Campbell, Andre Sisco, Antonio Johnson, and the fourth option in there was somebody else. So if you wanted to go Darby or whoever you would want to go with that fourth option, you can reply with whoever that player may be and define best however you want to define it, right? It's not an exact science with best, especially with a secondary player, because they're not all asked to do exactly the same job. A corner and a safety aren't asked to do exactly the same job. There are different roles for different players. So if you want to look at it and say the guy who's going to force the most turnovers, you determine that to be best, okay. You want to look at it and say the player with the most tackles, that'll be the best corner or defensive back, okay. If you want to look at it and say the player with the most passes defensed, you think that'll be the best defensive back, okay. The player with the best passer rating against, right, when he's targeted in coverage, whatever you want to define it as far as best. Define it however you want, but your options in the poll this morning, Tyson Campbell, Andre Cisco, Antonio Johnson, or somebody else. PFF, Trevor Sikkema over there with PFF, a couple of days ago, we didn't get to this yesterday on the program, but tis the offseason, and all these different websites are going to be going through the player rankings at positions, right? It's that time of year. And with the OTAs getting started, we have a few weeks until we get into training camp, about a month and a half before we get into training camp still. So everyone's going to be doing a weekly or daily list of here's the ratings for players at different positions. Most of these positions, it seems like in years past, they'll give you like a top 10 or something like that. PFF has been at least diligent about giving you a bigger list than that. They generally, whatever position you're talking about, it will give you 15, 20 names on whatever position they're talking about on a given day. With quarterback, it's a little bit easier, right? Because everyone knows who the quarterbacks are. Everyone has an idea of how they feel about all the quarterbacks in the league. And it's not a surprise that quarterback is the position that they start with these kind of rankings and ratings. And look, it's also not a surprise who's number one. They did break it up into tiers with their list this year from Trevor Sikkema. And number one, to give you an idea of just how he feels about it, and I think most of the league feels about it, Tier 1 is a tier all to itself. And what name do you think goes there, Pockets?
Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes. He even called the tier Patrick Mahomes. He named it.
I've done the same thing.
Yeah, he named it Mahomes, and he's got Patrick there, number one. He said 2023 wasn't Mahomes' best year by the numbers, but after back-to-back Super Bowls with one of his least talented supporting cast, we're not going to even entertain overthinking this one. I would tend to agree with him. Mahomes is the man right now, a quarterback in the league. The Tier 2, he calls the elite. There are 1, 2, 3 quarterbacks in the elite. Who do you think those 3 are?
The 3 elite quarterbacks. I'm going to go Josh Allen's one of them.
Yep, Josh Allen's 4th.
Okay. I want to say Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow's 3rd.
Okay. I'm missing number 2. I feel like number 2 is pretty easy. I'm missing it.
You're just overthinking it.
Yes, I am at this point.
He's won multiple MVPs.
Aaron Rodgers? It can't be him.
No.
Lamar Jackson. Duh.
Lamar Jackson, too, on the list. There's only 3 quarterbacks that have won the MVP since 2018. By the way, Aaron Rodgers, who you mentioned, Patrick Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson, each of them winning it twice. Lamar Jackson 2, Joe Burrow 3, Josh Allen 4, and that's called the elite tier here on this particular list. The 3rd tier, postseason caliber quarterbacks, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 quarterbacks in the postseason caliber quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence is not listed in that tier, right? They have Trevor in the next tier down, the melting pot of starters, which starts at number 11 with Jordan Love of the Green Bay Packers. Then at 12 is Trevor Lawrence of your Jacksonville Jaguars. The write-up here on Trevor Lawrence has shown us flashes and even extended periods of brilliance, but I continue to want more consistent high-level play before vaulting into the top 10, which he is capable of. He ranked in the top 5 in big-time throws, but also in turnover-worthy plays, with 21 total turnovers on the year. In 2023, his season was a story of dealing with injuries, so he wasn't feeling his best through those struggles. On a positive note, Lawrence had by far the most big-time throws on passes of 20-plus yards downfield, with 30 of those. Adding Brian Thomas Jr. and Gabe Davis will only allow that to continue. And We've obviously talked a lot about Trevor Lawrence on the show this week, right? With the story kind of, sort of, maybe in some way breaking on Monday that the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence are discussing an extension, something that we've known about for a while now here in Jacksonville, that's something they're at least looking at. But I'm going to continue to express my confidence in kind of the back half of what was said there in the write-up on Trevor Lawrence, right? I believe in the player, and I believe in the periods of time that we've seen through the first 3 seasons of his career where he's shown himself to be playing, for stretches and seasons these last couple of years, like a top 5 quarterback in the league. He's played that way for stretches. I'm not denying that it's only been for stretches, right? But I am going to continue to voice my confidence that those stretches are going to be extended into longer and longer stretches and full seasons. And I wouldn't be surprised if the full season thing started as soon as now for Trevor Lawrence going into year number 4. I do think the health had a big factor in whatever level of struggles he had last year, but they got him at number 12 on this list. I wouldn't be, in fact, I'm confident enough in how I feel about Trevor Lawrence that looking at the way they have this list laid out, I would be surprised if he's not at least one more tier up going into next season. That I don't know why he's not already listed among the postseason caliber quarterbacks. Obviously, he's a postseason caliber quarterback. He's been to the postseason and won a game. I don't know why you have a tier that you would name it postseason caliber quarterbacks if you're not going to include a guy who was as good as he was when they made the playoffs 2 years ago, and as good as he was in that comeback victory over the LA Chargers. They do have Justin Herbert at 5 on this list, the first among those postseason caliber quarterbacks. Again, I don't know why you name a tier postseason caliber if you're not going to include Trevor Lawrence. You got Herbert, Prescott, Stafford, Rodgers, Jalen Hurts, and C.J. Stroud. Right? If C.J. Stroud's in that tier, then why isn't Trevor Lawrence? If you want to put Stroud ahead of him, fine. But why not just have Trevor Lawrence in that tier at 11? Right? That doesn't make much sense to me, but it's not my list. That's Trevor Sikkema's list. And you can react to that however you would like to today on the show. The Chad and Sandy real estate question of the day: who will be the Jaguars' best player in the secondary this year? I'll get into Will Brinson, who I'm convinced was listening to the show yesterday when we talked about the gap between Houston and Jacksonville. We'll get into that as well. It's a Thursday edition of Jaguars Today. Tony Smith, Dylan Denmark here with you. Mike Dempsey on assignment for at least one more day. We're hopeful to get him back in here tomorrow when Tommy Mack joins us in studio. That'll be fun. Get the band back together. I feel like we haven't seen each other in so long. Pockets.
It's been what, since
Tuesday?
It's only
It's only a couple
feels
days.
like forever,
but
though.
It feels a long time. And I'm on vacation next week. So if Dempsey wasn't able to get back tomorrow, then it's a week and a half that I don't get to do a show with Mike. That would be a bummer.
Probably the longest time it's ever happened.
No, we've had where we both taken like a week off back to back.
Okay.
That
makes sense.
But never at the same time, which I mentioned a couple days ago. We've never both missed the show, and I don't think we're in any danger of both missing any kind of shows here over the course of the next week. But I will be out next week, hopefully to get Dempsey back in here tomorrow. We'll get into what Will Brinson had to say over at CBS when we return. It is a Thursday edition of Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Jaguars Today.
Jaguars Today.
From the JOI Studios at 1010XL.
Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute.
Where the pros go.
What the?
Jacksonville Sports Radio.
What is this place?
This is 1010XL.
Imagine driving a late model Corvette, BMW, Mercedes, Lexus, Honda, Chevy, Ford, and more, all at a fraction of the original sticker price. Visit Vaughn Motor Group's indoor showroom and browse a great selection of dream cars that are inspected with warranties. Before you make your next auto purchase, check out Vaughn Motor Group on San Jose Boulevard or at vaughnmotorgroup.com for a complete inventory listing. If you can dream it, you can drive it at Vaughn Motor Group.
Are you embarrassed by your ugly, cracked concrete driveway? Need to enhance your home's curb appeal? Stonecore on Phillips Highway is your one-stop shop for all your outdoor needs. Replacing with new stone pavers will transform your driveway into a stunning work of art. Say goodbye to unsightly concrete and hello to beautiful, durable pavers that last for years. Visit Stonecore today and let's beautify your home together. Stonecore.co. We do outdoors better.
Taste Memorial Day with Mayport CNC Fisheries Steamer Pots. This week, take $10 off our unique steamer cans filled with restaurant-quality seafood. Family gathering or special occasion, Mayport CNC Fisheries off Mayport Road brings the taste of the ocean to your table. Ask your favorite restaurant to carry Mayport CNC Fisheries.
Ever wonder how you can transform your living spaces into captivating works of art? At First Coast Lighting and Fans, they offer a huge selection of high-quality products to match your desire for elegance, quality, and uniqueness. Visit their showroom on Phillips Highway at the Avenues and step into a world of quality without compromise. Discover the difference that locally owned expertise makes and let them help you experience the transformation from average to extraordinary. At First Coast Lighting and Fans.
It's kind of like his own private locker, and you're his guest.
Every time we talk, I'm reinvigorated by my love of the game.
Hayes Carline here. Find my blog at 1010XL.com.
Hayes Blog is brought to you by Roland Reach Plumbing, where quality and experience count.
A lot of companies will tell you they're the best. At Custom Tree Surgeons, they show you every time. Custom Tree Surgeons has built an all-pro team. Every tree service professional has years of experience, continually trained and certified. They know what, when, and how to handle any job. It gets done efficiently and quickly by a team of experts. So for tree trimming, removal, stump grinding, and emergency services, forget any name other than Custom Tree Surgeons. There is no job they can't do better. Go to website CustomTreeSurgeons.com. That's CustomTreeSurgeons.com, and let them show you how the job is supposed to get done.
Certainly facing challenging economic times. I can't speak for all of us, but for me, comforting to know my money is in good hands with ITP Partners. Ticket here for ITP Partners, Jacksonville guys taking care of my Jacksonville money. I'll admit it, I don't understand a ton about the economy, higher interest rates, 401ks, but I do know as I move closer to retirement, I continue to watch my money grow. Thanks to Chris Bryan, Jeff Hartman, Reagan Wright, Dan Abel, and Reed Wingate. Get in the game, guys. ITP Partners, always there to help. For more info, Chris at ITPPartners.com or call 904-312-9751.
Baloo for Shinatri Chiropractic. They've helped me get rid of my headaches and pain in my neck and back. Are you suffering from an auto accident? What about TMJ pain? Headaches associated with jaw clenching, grinding of the teeth, or stress-related disorders? Shinatri Chiropractic has a physical therapist on staff for rehabilitation, quality chiropractic care, dry needling, massage, and acupuncture. Call 743-6700 or go to ShinatriDC.com.
Your cooling system isn't working. Maybe somebody showed up with a portable electronic device. Then they discussed with you what your options are. Maybe they gave you an estimate that seems like an awful lot of money. What's the smart thing to do? When the situation merits a second opinion, get a Mike Merritt opinion. Yes, the Mike Merritt Comfort Team shows up with hand tools. We've never been able to fix an air conditioning problem with a tablet. Mike Merritt has been the trusted name for more than 30 years because there's never any hocus pocus. The Merritt team will walk you through the diagnostic steps up close and personal and show you exactly what you need. And the Mike Merritt price is likely to be far less because there's never an overtime charge, and the Merritt team doesn't work on commission. So remember, when it comes to the health of your cooling system, a second opinion can only help, and a Mike Merritt opinion can save you money. Florida license CACO 50384.
The saying goes, the grass is greener on the other side. Well, that is actually true if your neighbor installed artificial turf. Lauren Brooks here from my friends at Sunshine Turf, a family-owned local company that will take your backyard dreams and turn them into a reality. Caleb can design anything from putting greens to pet runs, and if you have a pool, you'll definitely love maintenance-free turf around it. Visit sunshineturf.info to get a free quote today. Sunshine Turf. That's sunshineturf.info.
Looking for a great place to enjoy some craft creations and soak up some scenery? Fernandina's Mocama Beer Company is a must-see and must-try. Nassau County knows it. Visitors need to find out about it. Mocama means near the big water where the sun is born. And if you visit their tap room in Fernandina Beach, you'll see how they've mastered equal parts precision and art in creating great flavors from IPAs to Pilsners, lagers, and sours, plus plenty more. Mocama.com, Mocama Beer Company. Start an adventure and find them in Fernandina.
New and pre-owned firearms are in stock at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach. Want a new sidearm or rifle? Brands like Kimber, Smith & Wesson, 6 Hour, Beretta. No lines, no hassle. Only at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Tony Smith, Dylan Denmark here with you. Mike Dempsey on assignment for at least one more day. Hopefully he's back with us tomorrow here on the show. Going to get into Will Brinson and his comments over at CBS here in just a moment. Pockets, let's start with this. How do you stack up the AFC South? As we sit here on May 23rd, we still got some time before the season starts. We went through all the schedule predictions when they came out, right? So we have an idea of how we all feel like the Jaguars are going to finish after looking at the schedule when it got released. But where do you think the Jags stack up against the other three teams in the AFC South right now?
I think it comes down to Houston, Jacksonville, and Indy the final week of the regular season like it did last year. And I think if I had to bet right now, I think Jacksonville gets a wild card. I don't know if it's 5, 6, 7. I think it's probably 5 or 6. That's where I would go right now. I think Indy wins the division. I don't know if Houston makes it just because Houston has number one schedule. Indy has an easy schedule in the month of December. And I think Shane Steichen is going to be really well with Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable, despite Mike and I both having the Jags sweep the Colts, right? I don't think you did.
No. I think I had them split every team.
Yeah.
I had them 3-3 in the division.
Yeah. I mean, last year I had them 16-1, right? Like I was completely willing to buy in on the Jags were a playoff team, had won a playoff game, had gone toe-to-toe with that Chiefs team in the divisional round of the playoffs, a bunch of different reasons for why they lost that game, and most of them they can look in the mirror for why they lost that game to the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't deny any of that, but I was very bullish on the Jaguars and their opportunity to not only win the South, but compete to be one of the top 2 seeds in the AFC and be a legitimate competitor for the Super Bowl. Well, at 8-3, that all looked okay. And then it happened, right? The back half of the season played out the way that it did. And I don't think it's unreasonable to look at the Colts and see them as a potentially dangerous team, at least, right? And I laid it out yesterday, and it was funny the way I laid it out. I think that Houston, like it sounds like you're saying, Pockets, that you think the same 3 teams that were kind of competing for the South going to the finish line last year will be the same 3 teams that when we get into December are going to be competing for the division again. You don't think anyone's going to have a 2-3 game lead at that point?
Correct. Yeah, I think it's going to be similar to last year. Everybody's going to be right there neck and neck.
The conversation about the division is what I was being critical of yesterday, right? It's not necessarily picking Houston to win the division. I don't think that's unreasonable at all to think the Houston Texans are going to be the best team in the AFC South this year. It's the perceived gap that I think a lot of people see between Houston and the other teams in the division, which I just don't think is there. And Will Brinson doing an article for CBS Sports, and look, his article, to be fair, the article he is doing is more about whether or not you should bet the over or the under for the team win totals for all the teams, which is notable in and of itself, right? That we're already at a point, not that long ago, you're not going to have anyone writing at CBS Sports about good or bad bets when it comes to anything, right, with the NFL. Not legitimate, you can bet on this is how I feel about what you should or shouldn't wager on any of these things, but times have changed. And so has Will Brinson over at CBS, apparently. When talking about Houston, Their win total is set for 9.5. And what Will Brinson had to say, this won't be a popular opinion, but there might be a little more reason to worry about the Texans than the general consensus out there. Let's start with Houston's 2023 season, which is primarily highlighted by a historic rookie performance out of C.J. Stroud. The Texans were one of the best stories of the year, but they also went 7-3 in one-score games, right? That's, from an NFL perspective, that's a really important note. That's generally what you're going to have to do to be a 10-win team, like in that kind of range anyway, is be really good in those one-score games because you're going to play a bunch of them. But he went on to say, like the 2022 Jaguars, they got white hot down the stretch against some questionable teams and won the division before beating Joe Flacco in a playoff game. I think Stroud's incredible, and DeMeco Ryans has serious staying power. They added Stephon Diggs and Danielle Hunter in the offseason and only really lost a few role players on defense. I'm bullish on the Texans, but not to the extent of the market. Stroud is 12-1 to win MVP, and this is a really steep win total for a team that now draws a first-place schedule, with the Chiefs, Cowboys, and Ravens notably on the docket down the stretch. At this point in the offseason, I'd lean towards the under with the plus money, knowing the Texans could win 9 games, the division, and I'd still cash without laying any juice. How many wins do you expect the AFC South champ to get, Fox?
10.
Think it'll be a 10?
Yeah. I think somebody's gonna be 9 wins the second to last week, and then they're gonna get the 10th win. And then the other two are gonna have 9.
Yeah, and I do think 10 wins is much more difficult on Houston's schedule given the opponents they have on there. That's kind of the reason why the Jags only won 9, right, last year. It does. This whole offseason has felt like such a mirror looking at, and maybe that's why I feel the way I do about Houston. Right? I know what last year felt like going into it with the Jacksonville Jaguars and the confidence that so many people were expressing, including me, about where we thought the Jaguars were going to ultimately wind up. And I saw the way that the season played out. I expect Houston to be good this year, but I just don't see the gap between them. By the way, Brunson here talking about Jacksonville with the over-under 8.5. He did say lean for the under with Houston there at 9.5. He does wind up leaned for the over for the Jaguars at 8.5. And as Brunson says here, the hype train for the 23 Jaguars got way out of control. People like Pete Prisco, he called him a sheeple, picked the Jaguars to win the Super Bowl and Trevor Lawrence to win MVP. Those two guys go head-to-head quite a bit. What a world. The Jags got out to a 6-2 start, 8-3 after beating the Texans in Week 12. A mortal lock to win the division until they weren't, and melted down to a 9-8 finish and left them out of the postseason. The Jags went 3-5 in one-score games and were essentially even with their point differential. I talked about some of the players they lost. One of the huge differences between first and second from last year is found in the scheduling. The Jaguars draw the Raiders and Browns, while the Texans get the Chiefs and Ravens. I don't love the Jags this year, but improvements on defense and a bounce-back season from Lawrence could equate to 9 wins. Again, fairly easily. It's a decent buy low spot, but he wouldn't bet it yet either. He's a lot more bullish on Indianapolis, probably as you are. From that perspective, their pockets, he does pick Indianapolis on the over. He's got the Titans on the under at 6.5. Can't we all? That would be such a blessing for the Titans to be under 6.5 again this year. But look, I think, again, it's the perceived gap that I kind of have an issue with between Jacksonville and Houston. The way people talk about the space between Houston and the rest of the AFC South, I look at it and say, I don't know what they see that I don't see. The Jags have won 9 games in back-to-back years despite the miserable end to last season, and it took a miserable end to last season for Houston to be the level of hot team that they are this year. It took the Jaguars falling apart the way that they did at the end of last season. I don't think they do that again. I really don't. It may be like the 16-1 pick. I'm not saying that I've never been wrong about any of these things, but I can only share how I feel, right about any of this. I can only share how I feel, what I think is going to happen. And you ask me right now, May 23rd, and I would tell you, I think the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be right in the middle of it in the AFC South from start to finish this year. I think that Trevor Lawrence is a talented enough player that this year we're going to see him put together a complete season. I think that we're going to see whatever is going to happen with the new faces that come in, but I think the offensive line not being a problem this year, which I don't expect the offensive line to be a problem this year. I don't need them to be great. I need them to get out of Trevor's way. And I think they have a group of players that are at least good enough to get that done. They did it 2 years ago. They weren't great. They got out of Trevor's way 2 years ago. Last year, the offensive line was a problem, especially the interior of that offensive line, especially at center on that offensive line. I don't expect that same level of problem to exist for the Jaguars this year. And as I've expressed from the moment that the season ended last year, they need to do something about Luke Fortner at center. He shouldn't be the center when we come back. We talked about that with Jeff Lageman last year, during the season. Fortner was a problem for the Jacksonville Jaguars. That is something they're going to have to address. They've addressed it. And as I've said over and over, and I'll say it one more time, and I'm sure I'll say it plenty more times before we get to actually kicking off this season, just stay out of his way. Just stay out of his way. If you give me a center who is not falling back into the quarterback and maybe allows the opportunity for some of these 3rd and 1s to turn into 1st and 10s, which they just didn't have the interior push last year, specifically from center, in my opinion, to make those kind of things happen. I think you fix that problem. It's hard to know exactly how much that fixes, but I think it fixes way more than the national perception is of what the Jaguars could be in 2024. I expect them to look similar to what they did down the stretch in 2022. I really do. And that doesn't mean they're going to win 13 games, but, as we talked about when we went through the schedule when it came out, I do think the Jags are an 11 or 12 win team. I do. And a lot of that is my confidence in Trevor Lawrence and the step up that I'm expecting from him this year. You don't have to feel the same way about it, and you can express that however you want to express it, and you can say, well, they're going to wind up being a 7-win team or whatever you think they're going to be, and that's fine. You saying they're going to win 7 doesn't change my opinion. Me saying they're going to win 12 obviously doesn't affect your opinion, and that's cool. We can all continue to discuss and root for the Jaguars in this whole thing. Going to have the opportunity here in just a moment to hear from a couple of Jaguars, as Hayes Carlyon on Monday had the chance to catch up with center Mitch Morse, who we were just talking about right there. And one of the stories coming out of Monday's OTA practice was Devon Hamilton. Mia O'Brien had the chance to catch up with him after practice. We'll let you hear some from Mitch Morse and Devon Hamilton as we continue along. It's a Thursday edition of Jaguars Today here on 1010 XL.
Hey, folks, Mike Dempsey here for Awaken 180 Weight Loss. Make the simple phone call, 844-346-1800. I've been talking about it. Great success, worked wonders for me, and I've been able to keep all my weight loss off. I lost my weight last September. I've never had this kind of success not putting anything back on over all these many months. Ask Matt Hayes. Ask Hacker about it. There's less of them to go around. And that's a great thing. They're healthier. They feel better about themselves. They're lighter on their feet. There are fewer aches and pains in everyday life. You look better. You feel better. It's just that simple. Awaken 180 can help you get there, like they've helped over 21,000 other satisfied customers. Awaken 180 has been getting it done by using a system that has you eating to lose weight. It's just a matter of when you eat, what you eat, how much you eat, how frequently you eat it, and they'll turn your body into a fat-burning machine, and you'll keep that weight loss off. Call Awaken 180, again, at 844-346-1800, or schedule your consultation online simply by going to awaken180weightloss.com.
Jaguars Today.
From the JOI studios at 1010XL. You know Dan Hicken.
I got special talents. I'll show you. Look out.
And you know Jeff Prosser.
I've had it. I can't listen to one more self-righteous chestnut out of your mouth.
Mornings on the drill.
So beggars can't be choosers.
On 1010XL.
This week only, it's the Memorial Day clearance sale at Art of Natural Stone, with 2 locations on Beach Boulevard and on Phillips Highway. To make room for new product, they're offering clearance sale pricing on pavers, stones, gravel, and travertine. Now is the perfect time to upgrade your outdoor space with top-quality materials at clearance sale prices. This week only at Art of Natural Stone on Beach Boulevard and on Phillips Highway, open Sunday and Monday.
There's a name you can trust when it comes to servicing your AC system. Bold City Heating and Air, a family-owned Jacksonville company focused only on the local community. And since the extreme summer temperatures are almost here, schedule your summer maintenance today with Bold City Heating and Air. Don't be fooled by the out-of-towners, equity firms, and national corporations that use local names. Trust the AC company born in the Bold City. That's boldcityac.com.
It's Kubota Orange Days, your golden chance to score a deal that will make your neighbors green with envy. Shop the year's best selection of Kubota tractors, zero-turn mowers, and utility vehicles, including the #1 selling compact tractor in the USA. And get the year's best deals, like 0% APR for 84 months or up to $3,300 off L3302 tractors. Coastal Equipment on New Kings Road and in McClenny.
Coastal Equipment. What's changed totally inside and out? The Kuhn Flowers massive storefront, and yes, they've totally remodeled the showroom inside too. This is Frank Frangie, and the next time you drive by, stop and smell the roses at Kuhn Flowers.
It's not training camp, but it is the start of a new season. Listen for 1010XL's coverage of organized team activities and minicamp.
So here we go.
Brought to you by Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning, a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Visionaries, builders, and doers, are you ready to change the world? Miller Electric is your opportunity to shape the future. Miller Electric is leading the charge in electric vehicle technology with our state-of-the-art EV Innovation Design Center. We're working to create a sustainable future. We're also the proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars, powering their performance at the brand-new Miller Electric Center. Miller Electric, we provide competitive pay, unbeatable benefits. Apply today. MillerCareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Attention veterans, if you have a VA loan, you need to listen to this, especially if your current rate is higher than 6.5%. Now is the time to take advantage of the federal government's VA Streamlined Refinance Program. With my friends at Loan Pronto, you can. Go to loanpronto.com. Prosser here, and Loan Pronto has fixed rate APRs in the 5s. You can drop your rate now. Lower your payment with no income documentation and no appraisal. Do it at loanpronto.com. Their all-digital platform makes it easy. They can even cover your closing costs. If you need cash now, Loan Pronto can get you up to 100% of your home value. You can pay off all your credit cards or other debt and save as much as $1,000 a month. Call Loan Pronto now at 904-999-1508 or get a 30-second rate quote at loanpronto.com. Ask about streamlined VA loans, no income doc, and no appraisal. Loan Pronto, 999-1508 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Coverage and analysis of the 2024 offseason workouts on 1010XL is brought to you by Duck Rooter, Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now more Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Tony Smith, Dylan Denmark here with you. Going to hear from Mitch Morse and Devon Hamilton here in just a moment. The Chad and Sandy real estate question of the day today, asking who will be the Jaguars' best player in the secondary this year. Tyson Campbell, Andre Sisco, Antonio Johnson, or someone else. Your options. It's funny, every time the Trevor discussion comes up, it's the responses are pretty predictable. You know, pockets I share, and I'm not saying that I don't express it pretty strongly, right? Like how confident I am in Trevor Lawrence, and I am. I'm only expressing how I feel about it, and there will be some people who will take that as me trying to, I guess me expressing my confidence means that I'm trying to put down people who disagree with me. Did I do that?
No.
Right? Like, express yourself however you want to express it. And look, the phone lines are open, 641-1010. We have them open every day. We've had plenty of people that call and express how they feel about Trevor and the contract and how he's played, through his first 3 years. And look, I've been critical. He needs to stop turning the ball over. I don't disagree, right? He's got to get better at those kind of things. I think he needs to be more consistent. I agree. I expect him to get better at those things, which is why I express it the way I do. If you don't, I'm not even trying to change your mind. It's just how I feel about it. Express it, say it, however you want to say it. It's fine. I don't understand some out there who get upset that I express an opinion that they don't share. As if, look, you're free to say it however the heck you want to say it. It doesn't bother me for you to say it however you want to say it, especially when it comes to a quarterback who's about to get probably something north of $50 million a year. Say it however you want to say it. If you think that's foolish, that's fine. Express it as you think it's foolish. You saying you think it's foolish is not going to change my mind about I don't think it's foolish. I'm in favor of it. And in the end, the Jags will win and lose football games over whatever the tenure is for Trevor Lawrence, and I hope it's the next 15 years. And there are people out there who hope it's one more year at Trevor Lawrence. I think that's short-sighted of those people, but they're welcome to feel that way and express it however they want. Hayes Carline had the chance to catch up with one of the guys that I think has the chance at least to make a significant difference for what the Jags are going to be able to do on the offensive line. We circled center as a position that they were going to have to address at some point in this offseason. Well, they did. Bringing Mitch Morse in on a couple-year deal. You can watch the full interview on 1010XL's YouTube page as Hayes Carline caught up with him after practice on Monday out at OTAs. Here it is, Hayes Carline with Mitch Morse.
All right, we are pleased to be joined with Jaguars center Mitch Morse here on 1010XL 92.5 FM. Man, it's great to meet you. How you doing?
Very well. I appreciate you. How are you?
I'm doing great. How's the family doing, getting acclimated to Jacksonville?
Well, it's just me. I'm on a solo mission right now since my daughter's still in school, so they're in Kansas City, but I love it.
Yeah.
And we're setting up a home here for the season, and it's going to be a really treat for my family to see it and be a part of it. My wife's been down here, but my kids, just be able to have the beach right there, it's exciting.
How excited are they to get to Florida for all the beach and everything that comes with it?
Well, I think it's just, we really enjoyed our time in Buffalo for 5 years. It was such a great family environment. This will be a different dynamic come November 1st, and I think everyone's very excited for that.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. Mitch, how's it been going, just getting acclimated with the Jaguar way of things?
Yeah, I think today was a big step in that. I think it's good to see how you roll in practice. I think you're just getting live reps. Quote unquote live reps against a defense, and that just kind of puts everything together, right? Like you've been the last 5 weeks working against a hypothetical defense, and now you get to put it together and just learn from your mistakes. Definitely made a few, and the exciting thing is get to work on them.
Was it the familiarity? Is what you thought it would be with Doug Peterson? Obviously, offenses evolve and things like that, but were you at a pretty good starting point having some background with Doug?
It's been 9 years, so we both changed quite a bit. So, no, it was a clean slate. I think the familiarity came with the man rather than the schematics.
What's it like working with Brandon Sheriff, another guy who's obviously seen an awful lot in this league?
Yeah, like I said earlier, Brandon was kind of the pinnacle of our draft class in 2015. So from afar, I've been a huge fan of Brandon, and I've got to know him. I have a personal relationship to a certain extent, more in passing over the years, but this is definitely a lived dream coming to play with him, especially we're both in our twilight years of football.
The Jaguar fans were so excited when they found out you were coming. Have you felt that excitement from the fan base of your arrival?
Yeah, well, I think it's it's been great. Like, the fans have been awesome. I think it's just been a unique situation, but everyone's been handling it well. I've had to come in to an established offensive line room. Like, I always think I was really the only guy for few weeks. So for me, it was more just kind of seeing how everyone did their thing, how the chips fell, and then how I could find my way into that room to help it kind of project forward rather than trying to make it something that wasn't, because they already got good bones. So for me, it's just trying to make everyone the best version of themselves, no matter who they are.
Mitch, what's it like for you as a pro at this stage of your career? What do you work on this time of year?
Well, I mean, right now, since it's so different, there's a whole slew of things, right? Like, it's just not only footwork, but everything is different verbiage, how you attack a block a certain way. So for us, it's got everything right now. So it's a nice breath of fresh air towards the end of my career, just to not have a little complacency. You're forced to kind of just take a step forward.
Obviously, you guys are in the early stages of this, but what's it been like getting to know Trevor?
Yeah, I love Trevor. What I like about Trevor more than anything is his not his pocket persona, but his how he comes into a huddle, how he presents himself. It permeates through the rest of the guys. He commands it, and he's also a good dude. I think you can go to battle with just a good guy.
What will be your plans once we get done with mandatory minicamp and you have that break? Do you guys have any? Will it just be getting acclimated with Jacksonville and get the family settled, or do you guys have some fun trips planned?
Well, we're going to go back. I'm going to go back home to Kansas City for a bit, and we have a few trips here and there, but mostly it's kind of the last breath before the plunge, which is season. So for me, it's just trying to be a father as much as I can, and also kind of fine-tune some things for hopefully a long push into the season and beyond.
Mitch Morse, we really appreciate your time. Best of luck to you.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you.
There you go. Hayes Carline catching up with Mitch Morse. What I think I've expressed pretty clearly what I expect the impact of Mitch Morse joining the offensive line at center to be. And look, I expressed it from the moment the season ended. There have been so many years, right, covering this team here in Jacksonville where people have circled needs for the football team that I've tried to express them the way that I feel about them, meaning that when people every offseason would talk about the Jags need to add a tight end, I would be like, I don't think they do, right? But that's because I don't think the position of tight end is important enough that it has to be among the first things that you figure out when you're trying to build something. Right? That's the way I felt about it. I feel a similar way about on offense. I feel that way about tight end, center, and guard. I think if you can find adequate at those three positions, you can be fantastic on offense if you're adequate at those three positions. I think when you find special players, it's not that I'm against Evan Ingram and the impact that he has on the offense, because it is a big impact that Evan Ingram has on the offense. But even when they hired Coach Peterson and people were like, well, now they got to go get 2 and 3 tight ends. And I was like, I don't think they do. I really didn't think that they needed that necessarily to be successful. And that Doug would find a way with whatever pieces he was given to make the offense effective. I'm not saying that they can't feature a tight end. I think they can. And they've shown that during his time there in Philadelphia, and certainly with Evan Ingram here for the last couple of years in Jacksonville. They've been willing to feature Evan Ingram, and they should feature Evan Ingram. But I feel on offense, tight end, center, guard, if you're okay at those spots, then nothing is getting in the way of you flourishing as an offense if you can get okay at those spots. I think if you're terrible at those spots, that they can have a real detriment on your team. I think this offseason was about getting back to okay at center, and I certainly think Mitch Morse gets them back to okay at center. One of the other big stories coming out of OTAs on Monday was Devon Hamilton and the way that head coach Doug Peterson talked about Devon as what a weird 2023 for him dealing with the back injury and then finally being able to get out there for the last month or so of the season last year. But they had given him the extension last year around this time. They had gotten the extension done with Devon Hamilton, and then whatever the freak injury was popped up, and he just wasn't the same guy because he was really good in the early part of training camp, and then whatever happened. Me, O'Brien, had the chance to catch up with him after OTA practice on Monday as well. Here's her conversation with Devon Hamilton.
Pleased to be joined with Jaguars defensive tackle Devon Hamilton. Devon, let's start big picture here. Yep. How does it feel to be back on the field, first OTA of the 2024 season?
It's been pretty solid. Just working with this new staff. I've been very excited for the season to come up. I'm excited to learn new things too, so it's going to be a good year.
First impressions of Ryan Nielsen?
Intense, definitely intense. No, but it's something we need for our team. It's going to grow our team. It's going to build our culture here, so it's good for us. What's
the biggest thing that this coaching staff has brought so far?
Definitely technique. I'd say they're really big on technique, which again we need to have. That's going to win the games, and I'm excited for that too.
I asked Doug this morning to describe your last 12 months, and I feel like he almost got borderline emotional talking about it. He said that we would see 2022 Devon, more 2022 Devon out here today than 2023. What say you?
Yeah, I felt way better than I did last year for sure. Still growing, still progressing though, still learning. Just so excited to be back out here, be able to play football again.
I know we really didn't get a chance to speak with you because you were still going through everything at the end of last year, but as much detail as you can share, explain for us the spinal abscess and what you went through.
It happened during it really happened at Detroit during the preseason last year. I don't know. I need a little bit more questions for that.
Okay. So in terms of, you're just up in Detroit during joint practices and something just didn't feel right?
Yeah, I just felt tired, fatigued. Knew something was a little off. It was not my normal self, and started getting a little weird feeling. And after that, I just couldn't operate or move the way I wanted to. So that's how I kind of knew something's up.
How much weight did you lose?
Right after surgery, I probably lost 20 pounds. It was pretty crazy.
And now compared to back in October, where's your weight at comparatively?
Oh, I'm right back where I was before I got hurt, like 320 right now, so I'm excited.
And it feels good?
Feels good.
Yeah.
Feels real good.
When you look back at this last 12 months, I know even people that were on the team flight that day said, they were scared for you, for your wife, for your family. Mm-hmm. What are you most proud of in the last 12 months?
I mean, just the people around me that just kept me around, kept me faithful, kept me, and still in the loop. A lot of things happen when you get hurt. Any injury, you're away from the team. You kind of feel like you're exiled and this and the other. But my teammates really kept me around, kept their faith in me, kept on motivating me to get better every day. So I was really faithful and happy about that.
Let's talk about those teammates. You got a couple of young pups now you're bringing along. Yeah. Tell me about initial impressions for Jordan and for Mason.
Yeah, pretty high potential, man. They come in a lot more ready than most rookies, I feel like, and they're going to add to our room for sure.
And then Eric Armstead, of course, another addition. No, you guys haven't gotten him on the field full go just yet, but what has Eric brought?
He brings a lot of knowledge. I feel like a different point of view, more so than what I'm used to, at least for me, which I'm excited about, trying to learn from him a bit.
Last question for me, Devon. What's the biggest thing that this defense needs to do in 2024 that perhaps didn't happen in 2023?
I don't know if we didn't do it, but we have to keep on building, keep on improving every game and every practice, and focus on being attack and aggressive at all times.
For you personally, what area of your game have you targeted as that's where I need to grow?
There's a lot of growing from the last 12 months, but I'll say still working on my pass rush, still trying to affect the quarterback as much as possible.
Awesome. And the kids, or your daughter is doing well?
My son.
Your son is doing well?
Yeah, he's doing well. He's a pretty big boy. Love him to death. He's out there getting into everything, so it's a new experience.
First birthday coming up. You guys got the birthday plans on deck?
Yeah. We're excited to celebrate him, get him on a little bouncy house or whatever,
Awesome. Perfect. Devon, thanks so much. Great to see you as always.
No problem.
Mia O'Brien catching up with Devon Hamilton there after the OTA practice on Monday. You can watch that interview on 1010XL's YouTube page, along with Hayes with Mitch Morse there. And we'll have more of that next week when the Jags are back on the field for the second week of OTAs here in Phase 3 of the NFL offseason. We'll take a look around the National Football League on the other side when we return. Continue to take your answers to the Chad and Sandy real estate question of the day. Who will be the Jaguars' best player in the secondary this year? Tyson Campbell, Andre Sisco, or Antonio Johnson, as well as take a look at a ranking of the offensive infrastructure for all 32 NFL teams and where exactly the Jaguars come in on that kind of ranking. What's your idea of where you think the Jags would land on a list like that, where they give more weight to quarterback than anything else, but it's quarterback, play caller, offensive line, pass catcher, running backs, and running backs get the least weight as you try to figure out where you think the Jags may wind up in that kind of ranking. We'll take a look at that as we continue along. It is a Thursday edition of Jaguars Today. Tony Smith, Dylan Denmark here with you. Mike Dempsey on assignment, hopefully back with us tomorrow here on the show. We'll continue along here in just a moment on 1010XL.
Jaguars Today.
From the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Studios.
JOI, where the pros go. High school, college, and pro.
As good as it gets.
Your home for the most play-by-play is 1010XL.
When it comes to towing products, your safety on the road is the priority at Cannons of Jacksonville. Whether it's a heavy-duty tow hitch, trailer frame, wiring, gooseneck, tow bar, or any other towing accessory, Cannons has decades of experience to ensure your towing setup is installed with precision and reliability. Visit cannonsofjax.com to explore a range of products and schedule your installation. Cannons of Jacksonville, your trusted partner for a smoother tow.
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval Sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey, ham, melted cheddar, and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Daly's Dash today to get your delicious Duval Sub. Daly's is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Does the building you go to work in every day need a little love and attention? Jason Parker here with Performance Painting. Great companies take great care of the buildings their staff and customers walk into every day. If the building you're in doesn't match the vision you have for your company, we can help. Go to performance-painting.com. Our highly trained team makes the difference. Quality coatings applied with pride.
Performance Painting. The Sign and Drive Green Tag event continues, offering 0% for 84 months with no money down on a John Deere compact utility tractor with loader. Limited time offer. Visit your local Ag Pro today. Offer ends May 31st, 2024. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Home of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
If you're an experienced, skilled plumber or welder that's MedGas certified and you're tired of working for a company that just doesn't treat you right, Local 234 is the place for you. Their pay is the best in the business. You'll walk away with $35.09 an hour in your pocket. With benefits, that's just over $50 an hour. Local 234 has been around since 1901, and that means something. Visit UA234.com to send your resume. Local 234. Make the right connection.
Mark Watson with Hardball Creative. I know that hearing another ad for Jacksonville's best promo company interrupts Jacksonville's best sports talk, but at least it isn't a political ad. Check us out at hardballcreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
Hey gang, a tougher housing market means it's crucial to hire the right agent to sell your home at maximum price. That's why I recommend Chad and Sandy Newman. Chad and Sandy have the plan and experience to sell your home fast and, most importantly for you, get maximum cash. Listen, problems lead to promises, lead to proof when you trust Chad and Sandy. Among those promises, Chad and Sandy, the only local real estate experts I trust and recommend, and this is why. Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. Problems that you think are problems are fixed with the promises of Chad and Sandy. Let's go now to some proof. Justin and Palatka. I was trapped in a mortgage with my ex-wife on a home that didn't sell for 184 days with another realtor. Finally, we hired Chad and Sandy, and the difference was instantaneous. We had multiple offers in 7 days and sold and closed in 16. So just do this, gang. Call Chad and Sandy today, 904-414-6200, or go to ChadandSandy.com.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Local Sports Update. Brought to you by Awaken 180. Swinging into the state finals for high school baseball, St. John's captures the 2A state title with a walk-off in the 8th inning when Connor Osteen dashed home from third base, making this their first state title in Clay County. The Shrimp are on the road in Georgia for a 6-game series against the Gwinnett Stripers. The Stripers shut out the Jumbo Shrimp to take the first 2 games of the series. The two will play Game 3 tonight at 7:05. The chase to the A-Sun Baseball Championship continues for the JU Dolphins after the Dolphins defeated Eastern Kentucky Tuesday night 6-2. The Dolphins will take on the Central Arkansas Bears this afternoon with first pitch at 2:30. This will be the 4th time the Dolphins and Bears match up this season, with the Dolphins taking the last series. The winner of this game will play again tomorrow at 7 p.m. It's 84 degrees at 11 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air Conditioning. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Hey, yeah, I want to shoot, baby, shoot.
Everything you need to know about the Jags. Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
You know, Pockets, I'm sure we're going to hear plenty about it tomorrow.
What's that?
When Mike gets back in here. But he has sort of kept us updated on what the situation is through his Twitter/X account, whatever you want to call it these days out there, people. But here about 20 minutes ago, right, you had the opportunity to speak to him before we went on air this morning, and it certainly sounds like he's going to be in for the show tomorrow. And if he's not, he'll definitely be back in next week. But sounds like he's going to be in for the show tomorrow. And to just keep everyone updated, since he's willing to update it himself there on his X account, this 20 minutes ago from Mike Dempsey. Gentlemen, take a moment to appreciate each day you can pee without a catheter. It's actually not the peeing as much as it is the removal, but why quibble? Hashtag I pee freely. So it sounds like Mike is making progress towards getting out of the hospital today. Maybe not the most comfortable progress he's ever had in his life, but at least taking steps towards getting back into the full function of things, which, again, I'm sure we'll hear more about it tomorrow here on the show. But good news there from Demps, as it sounds like, again, he continues on the path to recovery there with the kidney stone, taking him down over this weekend. And then, it was bad enough that on Monday he was worried that it was some kind of illness, and he felt good enough to come back in on Tuesday, and then Tuesday afternoon it just knocked him right back down. So they got that handled. He should be back in with us here for the show tomorrow. I mentioned someone doing the offensive they call it the infrastructure rankings for teams across the league. This over on CBS. Jared Dubin putting this together yesterday, where he ranked all 32 teams, and he did give weight in the rankings. He's got different categories. So quarterback, play caller, offensive line, wide receiver / tight end, so pass catcher, and running back. There's more weight given to quarterback. There's less weight given to running back, given the way running backs are kind of trending in today's NFL. That makes some sense, right? Like, I think it's more important in some places than others, but it's hard to figure out exactly what to do if you're going to do a ranking for all 32 teams to say, well, Baltimore they're influenced by the running game more than everybody else, so maybe that deserves more weight for Baltimore, but that's Baltimore, right? When you're trying to figure it out, it's not all 32 teams, and you're trying to figure out some kind of metric to measure all 32. They, again, like we talked about with the quarterbacks earlier this morning with the tier rankings over there at PFF, they have a tier ranking for these offenses as well. 32, no surprise. Who do you think they had coming in last in the NFL from an offensive infrastructure standpoint?
Panthers?
Not quite. They were 31st. It's a good guess.
Who's last?
The New England Patriots.
Oh, yeah, duh.
Yeah.
I was about to say Washington. There's no way it was Washington.
Yeah. And as he wrote up here, there was quite a bit of separation between New England at the bottom and the next closest team, so we had to put the Patriots in their own tier. That's how far behind they were. Jacoby Brissett likely to be the team starter. Drake May, we'll see when he gets out there. And to give you an idea of just what those rankings look like, Quarterback, they gave a 2.5. It's on a scale of 1 to 5, right, that they give these guys. So 2.5, play caller 3, offensive line 2.5, wide receiver, tight end 2, running back 3.5. So their highest rated position group was the running backs at 3.5, and that's the least weighted group. That would explain to you why they wound up where they wound up there. The Jacksonville Jaguars on this kind of list, where would you expect, like what kind of range would you expect the Jaguars given what you can look at and see with the offense, the depth chart, however the heck you feel about Trevor Lawrence, all these things being taken into as a factor, where do you think the Jags would wind up on this kind of list?
I'd probably say somewhere middle of the pack, somewhere between 14 and 17.
A little bit lower than that.
Really?
A little bit lower than that. They have the Jaguars coming in at 21 on this list. Now, they do get a 4 out of 5 at quarterback. Nobody else in the same tier as them is above 3.5 at quarterback. Arizona, who's one spot ahead of them, is at 20. That's with Kyler Murray. The Chargers, Cowboys, Ravens, Bills, Bengals, and Chiefs are the only teams with a higher grade at quarterback. So you look at this, what held the Jaguars back from all the other quarterbacks with those 4.0 rankings, which would be quite a few? They don't weigh running backs as heavily as they do the other spots. They got a 4 at running back, same grade as they got for Trevor Lawrence there at quarterback. The weakest grade came for play caller, which is interesting. I saw something Cristiano sent me a few days ago on Twitter that showed Press Taylor graded as the 6th best play caller, right? Which, I don't know how they figure any of those kind of things out. But play caller is where they got knocked the most, which we aren't even sure yet officially who the play caller is going to be, but we all have our guesses, right? The Jags play caller got a 2.5. The only team in the entire NFL with a lower grade at the play caller position was the New York Jets, who got a 2. The Jags got 3s at wide receiver and offensive line average, which that doesn't seem unfair to me, right? To call the offensive line and the wide receiver group average. I think this will be those people who I was kind of discussing a moment ago again. We'll fire them up again. Why not? I think Trevor Lawrence can elevate the group, but that's what it will take in my mind. The O-line got in the way last year. That hurt Trevor Lawrence, especially when he actually got hurt because of some of those issues up front. I think Trevor Lawrence is a talented enough player that he can take a group of average on the offensive line and average at wide receiver, but there are a lot of things that this wide receiver group looks like it can do on paper, right? You add a guy like Brian Thomas Jr., he can be a guy that can take the top off the defense. Gabe Davis showed that he's got that kind of ability at Buffalo here the last couple of years. It'll be interesting to see how they want to put him into the offense because he is kind of replacing Zay Jones as much as anything in what they want to do there on the offensive side of the ball. But I don't think it's unfair to call the wide receiver group, the pass-catching group here in Jacksonville average. They got a couple of guys that I think Evan Ingram is a Pro Bowl level tight end. I think Christian Kirk can play at kind of a Pro Bowl level at wide receiver, but that's talking about a level. That doesn't mean I expect Christian Kirk to go to the Pro Bowl. I think the bar on that is really, really high, but he's kind of a Pro Bowl caliber kind of player, so I don't think it's unfair at all to call those two groups average, and it winds up with them at 21st in the league. Some of the teams they have ahead of them, if you want to take homage with any of this, the Browns, the Colts, the Falcons, the Jets, and the Bears are in that next tier up from where the Jaguars are. The Vikings, if they can figure something out at quarterback, apparently are still really good basically everywhere else, right, in their offense. But the quarterback is going to be the big question mark for them. We'll see what happens with Sam Darnold early on in the season. But taking a look at that, the Jags come in at number 21 on that list. I agree with you, by the way, Pockets. That feels a little bit low to me as far as compared to the colleagues in the league. I do think they're more a little bit higher. It's just a tick higher, though. You know, the difference between 17 and 21 isn't that big.
No, not at all. I mean, I guess it's probably because they like one aspect more than the other. You know, like probably one team in the middle of the pack does one thing a lot better than Jacksonville. I mean, you know, a lot of it's just, you know, you're looking at one thing from last year, like Jacksonville couldn't run the ball as much. So you're probably going to, you know, have that scale way down as compared to everybody else. And, you know, probably you're not going to look at, you know, you added Mitch Morse. How much does that affect the offensive line going to this year? And, you know, can that revamp your run game? I mean, it's a list. You know, it's subjective to what everybody wants to think.
Yeah, and I think if they had just put play caller as a 3 instead of a 2.5, they probably are right around 17, right on the list. And look, you can feel about the play calling however you want to feel. We've had those discussions over and over and over the last couple of years. Before we get to Mike DiRocco in the next segment, let's go around the National Football League and take a look at some of the news from around the league.
Now, Gems Around the NFL, brought to you by Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jax Beach.
Baltimore head coach John Harbaugh said on Wednesday that running back Keaton Mitchell, who suffered a torn ACL Week 15 last year, is on track in his recovery, but is not expected to be ready for Week 1 of the regular season. And in other Ravens news, the stories about Lamar Jackson losing weight have been around all over the place this week. Jackson himself addressed the story on Wednesday, and one of the most elusive and agile and accomplished rushing quarterbacks in football history confirmed that he has lost some weight. He said that the weight loss is all in an effort to be more agile. Is there such a thing as too much of a good thing? I asked Lamar Jackson. Cleveland head coach Kevin Stefanski said on Wednesday that quarterback Deshaun Watson will be throwing every other day as he continues to work back from his shoulder injury. Kansas City head coach Andy Reid said that rookie wide receiver Xavier Worthy did not participate in practice on Wednesday because of a hamstring strain. San Francisco, let's see here. Commissioner Roger Goodell, while at the Spring League meeting in Nashville yesterday, addressed his comments regarding an 18-game regular season schedule that he mentioned as a guest on the Pat McAfee show. Goodell said he isn't trying to push for it, but that it is something that is part of the league's long-term plans. Goodell said the key thing for us is looking at making sure we continue to do the things that make our game safe. 17 games is a long season, so we want to make sure we look at that and make sure that we continue the safety efforts. Look, I'm fine with an 18-game schedule, but it's really silly to talk about a premium on player safety and adding another regular season game. But that isn't at all surprising. In San Francisco, wide receiver Brandon Ayuk is not participating in the 49ers offseason program as he continues to look for a new deal to get done. That's a look around the National Football League. On the other side, we'll check in with Mike DiRocco from ESPN.com and take a look back at the OTA this week, as well as just some of the other Jaguars news that is out there as we continue here on the show. Mike DiRocco joining me next here on Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Jaguars Today from the Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute studios. Frank Franchi.
The quarterback. 2 receivers lined up to the left. Once the quarterback has the ball, he fakes to the left. No.
Afternoons.
He fakes to the right.
On 1010XL.
He thinks about faking. He pretends to fake.
What makes a Honda certified pre-owned vehicle so special? 182-point inspection, 24/7 roadside assistance, first-year free oil changes, and a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty for carefree driving backed by American Honda. Visit your local Honda dealer today.
This week only, it's the Memorial Day clearance sale at Art of Natural Stone, with 2 locations on Beach Boulevard and on Phillips Highway. To make room for new product, they're offering clearance sale pricing on pavers, stones, gravel, and travertine. Now is the perfect time to upgrade your outdoor space with top-quality materials at clearance sale prices. This week only at Art of Natural Stone on Beach Boulevard and on Phillips Highway, open Sunday and Monday.
At Duck Duck Air Conditioning, we understand the importance of having a properly functioning air conditioning system, especially in hot and humid climates like Florida. That's why we offer a wide range of services, including installation, repair, maintenance, and replacement of all types of air conditioning systems. The Duck Duck Air Conditioning team is available 24/7, so you can count on us to be there when you need us the most. Contact us today to schedule your service and experience the Duck Duck difference. 904-862-6769 or online at duckduckac.com.
Get ready to swing into the hottest party this summer. Join First Team North Florida at the Yards June 13th for the Summer Soiree. We're bringing the spirit of the Pacific Islands to Ponte Vedra with a Hawaiian luau-themed event. Enjoy family-friendly fun, including Hawaiian food trucks, live music, craft cocktails, golf games, raffle prizes, and more. The First Tee Summer Soiree provides the perfect blend of golf, party, and philanthropy. All proceeds benefit the impactful programs of the First Tee. Visit firstteenorthflorida.org/summer soiree to secure your tickets today.
Add an ace to your Tuesday morning.
The third ace in 4 days.
Brunch with a tour.
Tour news, tips, and inside info.
Brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation and Art of Natural Stone.
8:30 Tuesday morning on 1010XL.
Hey, it's Roger Moore, CEO of Loan Pronto. If you're like me, you're getting crushed by rising costs of everything these days. I get it. It's brutal, and credit card rates are ridiculous and going higher. That's why at Loan Pronto, we launched our Express Equity Line of Credit to bring you the relief you and your family need, using your home, your most valuable asset. We've helped thousands of people like you get fast relief with cash. The average homeowner who does this gets tens of thousands in just days and is able to save $850 per month in overall expenses. I'm talking life-changing money. Your money that you have access to right now. Listen, if you're ready to get control of your finances and get off the hamster wheel, call Loan Pronto. You can get approved for Express Equity Line of Credit in just minutes, and we can get your cash in less than a week. Stop digging a deeper credit card hole today. Call Loan Pronto now. 904-999-1508. 904-999-1508. LoanPronto.com. 904-999-1508.
Equal housing lender. NMLS 166-1781. Subject to lender approval. NMLS ConsumerAccess.org.
Hey, Hicken here for Zero Res. Like many of you, I love living in Jacksonville, where we have so many families who serve or have served in the military. I'm so grateful for their sacrifice to keep us safe. If you have a family member who is on active duty or is a veteran, now is the time to call Zero Res, because right now you get a 25% military discount on everything they clean. A thank you for your service. That's 25% off carpet cleaning, tile and grout upholstery, or Oriental rugs. Zero Res, man, spell it forwards or backwards. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
Have you or someone you care about been arrested or had their driver's license taken away? I'm Susan Cohen, and I work with David Robbins at the law firm of Epstein & Robbins. We are experienced fighters for those charged with DUI and all criminal offenses. I've been named the best DUI attorney in the state, and David has been named the best criminal defense lawyer in Jacksonville. In your battle with the justice system, there is only one thing you need to know. Dial David 24/7 at Epstein & Robbins, 354-5645.
Are your kids ready to play this summer? Come check out the Y. Summer is a time for kids to explore new things and expand the limits of their imagination. At the Y Summer Camp, every day is a new adventure. Kids can learn about STEM, arts and humanities, athletic sports, outdoor games, and more. Registration is now open, but space is limited, and spots are filling up quickly. Learn more and find your adventure at fcymca.org. Search Summer Day Camp.
Hey guys, this is David Garrard, and I want to tell you about Clearwater Irrigation. They put my new sprinkler system in my new home at Jack's Beach, and I couldn't be happier. Oh, hey John.
What's up, Dave? You know what this means. You're going to have to sing.
Man, I can't sing.
Then you'll fit right in, buddy. Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers. Hit it, Dave.
And drainage too.
ClearwaterJacks.com. 1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Let's ring up another guest on the All-Pro Roofing phone line.
Jaguars Today
on 1010XL.
As we say hello to ESPN's Mike DiRocco. What's going on this morning, Mike?
Not much. How are you guys today?
Doing just fine as we continue another step into the real off season, right? It's The OTAs got started this week. I guess we'll start there. What stood out for you from the OTA practice that you were able to see on Monday?
I was really looking forward to getting a glimpse of Brian Thomas with the full team, with Trevor throwing the ball, how they looked, how Christian Kirk looked moving around. That's the first time we've been able to see him, after his injury. Just kind of, I was really looking at some of the injured guys too, like Ezra Cleveland as well. The left guard that they brought back, see what he looks like. And wanted to see Mitch Morse working in the middle of the offensive line, just get a look at see what that did. And seeing how Ryan Nielsen is going to put those pieces together in the secondary, and he told us, before we were out there, he's like, yeah, we're just going to move everybody around all over the place today, and pretty much all of this offseason. So regardless of what we see of snap to snap to snap, that we don't really still have a good idea about what the defense is going to look like, especially in the secondary. But those were the main things I wanted to look at. And Thomas, looked fluid and fast, and just the way you'd expect him to look. And Trevor looked pretty good, as you would hope in OTAs, not against one-on-ones or anything like that. So it was, they looked the way I expected them to look, which was, smooth. And, the healthy guys the injured guys looked healthy.
Our question of the day yesterday, D-Rock, was about what the most important aspect of OTAs is. I can give you the options we had in the poll, but I'd be curious first to hear your answer about what you think the most important aspect of the OTAs year to year, but maybe even more this year is for this football team.
Well, staying healthy is probably the number one.
Sure.
And we've seen guys get hurt at these things before. But I think when you are adding a new offensive or defensive system, like the way the Jaguars are this year or under new coordinator Ryan Nielsen, just looking to see if guys are confused, looking to see if guys know what they're supposed to be doing. And you just want to know where they have to stop and correct a bunch of things and have guys reline up and do a bunch of other stuff like that. You just want to kind of see it look like they have an idea about what they're doing. So to me, it's always make sure, and if you're coming back with, an offensive system like they are, this is year 3, everything moves smoothly. So I guess I just would say, like, making sure the mental part of where they're supposed to be matches up.
Yeah, the options we had in the poll yesterday, and it's funny, that kind of answer maybe hits a couple of these. QB pass catcher chemistry, playbook install, acclimating the new faces, or try players at different positions, which you talked about. Nielsen talked about that specifically, right, which would make sense. It's a new defense. We're not sure exactly how all these things are going to look, so you try a bunch of guys in a bunch of spots so you know who's comfortable with what when, it's time to go here in a couple of months. It's all important. It's not like we're going to focus on the one thing and everything else gets left behind, but it is, more a question of what do you prioritize, this time of year when it is what it is. These practice sessions, D-Rock, they're not physical. They're running against air is what they're generally doing. That's all they're allowed to do. So from a coaching perspective, what are the keys of going through this part of an offseason to make sure you're getting the guys ready for when the physical part of football really becomes a factor in it again when we get to training camp?
I think for new guys, rookies, free agents coming in, or with, installing the new offensive or defensive system, that from a coaching standpoint, you're seeing the guys take what they've been covering in the meeting room and take it onto the practice field. Again, like you said, it's not physical, it's not all that other stuff, but you want to see that they've understood what you're installing, and you want to see it kind of play out in front of you that way on the field, and that guys know where they're supposed to be. And there's always going to be mistakes. Especially with the young guys, the rookies. But, if you're a veteran guy and you're a free agent guy, bringing, like a Mitch Morse or whatever, that you're taking what you've seen out there in the meeting room and moving it out onto the practice field and executing it. And, with a guy like Morse specifically, you're adjusting to your new teammates and you see sort of like a seamless integration, I guess is the best way to put it. And, because, you mentioned there needs to be the pass catcher quarterback chemistry being developed. Well, that offensive line needs to start developing a little chemistry as well. Morse, the new center, needs to develop a little bit of chemistry with Trevor Lawrence. So all that kind of stuff there. But I think if you're a coach and you're not seeing what these guys bringing what they've covered in the meeting room out there onto the practice field with minimal mistakes or some of the expected mistakes, then I think that would be a concern. But I didn't get the sense watching any of the coaches, that there were any major problems the other day.
We've talked a lot since it felt like the Jags had done the bulk of whatever work they were going to do in free agency about what other moves they could potentially make. We have an idea of where they are with salary cap space this offseason. We'll see if they want to use that towards Trevor Lawrence or something else potentially here over the next few weeks. On a scale of 1 to 10, how necessary do you think it is for the Jags to sign another edge player before the start of the regular season?
I would probably put it up there around 7 or 8. That's just me. Now, where do I think the Jags view it? Probably 2 or 3 at the most. But, I think part of it is what they're going to do. Where are we going to see Trayvon Walker on third down? Are they going to, they're going to flip Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker sides of the field at times. So they're going to do some scheme-wise things to go ahead and try and create some more mismatches that they can exploit. So I don't get the sense that they're looking to add a pass rusher, an edge rusher, seriously, unless, something were to happen injury-wise to some of these guys. I don't think they're going to be as aggressive blitzing maybe as I originally thought. Looking back at the numbers of what Ryan Nielsen's defense did in Atlanta. So, if they're not going to be blitzing a ton, you got to be able to get pressure with the front four and, moving those two guys around as well as, moving Eric Armstead around a little bit, Roy Robertson-Harris, Travis Gibson, kind of mix and match to get some matchups that they can exploit. But if it's me, I'm trying to add a guy just because I don't really know what I'm going to get out of Travis Gibson. 11 sacks in his career, 7 in 1 year. I think it was 21. I want another guy. I want to be able to run. If I take Trayvon and Josh off the field for a breather, for a drive, or what have you, I want to be pretty confident in the two guys that are going on the field afterwards. And I just don't know that I am at this point. But the Jags apparently, like I said, if I were saying me 7-8, the Jags 2 or 3.
Yeah, that's kind of where we all were last year too, right? With all of it, like we kept saying, they got to do something. They got to do something. And every time anybody that it meant their opinion meant anything with this stepped in front of a microphone, they expressed something along the lines of, "We're okay with Caleb Vaughn," right? Like that's essentially what they did, and that's the way it played out. The two front guys obviously had monster years for him last year, but it does feel like they're willing to double down on them being able to do that again this year. Mike DiRocco, the Jaguars reporter for ESPN, joining us here on Jaguars Today. What player needs to be the most improved player this year for the Jacksonville Jaguars? And this is typically a question I would ask with the beyond Trevor Lawrence. I'd be curious, is Trevor Lawrence the answer to that question for you? And if he is, then who beyond Trevor Lawrence needs to be the most improved player for him this year?
Yeah, I don't know that Trevor needs to be the most improved player, because I do think had he not been injured as much as he was last year, I think we would have been talking about him taking that next step. Because even though his numbers weren't fantastic before he got hurt, he was among the leaders in terms of, completion percentage, passer rating, QBR. He was in the top 6, 7, before those injuries started to pile up. So while he wasn't throwing for a ton of touchdowns, he was being efficient, and they were winning games. They were 8-3. So But yeah, does he need to improve? Yeah, especially if he's ending up with a new contract that's going to pay him $52, $53, $54, whatever $1 million a year. But if I needed to pick one guy that has to be the most improved, I would honestly say, I need to see more out of Ezra Cleveland to really feel, if I were a Jags fan, to really feel good about him being a left guard and them deciding, okay, we're going to go with him. I don't think, a guy like Brandon Sheriff is going to improve. I mean, I think at his age, he kind of is what he is at this point. Now, could he be a little more healthy? Absolutely. But, it's not fair to pick any of the rookies. So I would probably say, because I think the offensive line could still be an issue for this team this year, so I'm going to say Ezra Cleveland, because I think if he can he can improve significantly, and then you can add him with a healthy and on the field all the time Cam Robinson, then I think the left side of that offensive line could be pretty good.
It's the NFL. Every game they play is important, but the schedule's been released. Which game on the Jaguars' schedule has the most potential in your mind for impact on the season for good or bad when you had a chance to look at the schedule?
Oh, wow. I would say the first four are pretty important, but even if you stumble in the first four, I think you're able to come, you have the London trip against two teams you should beat. But it's that stretch after London, I think, that is a problem for them. I think it's 4 playoff teams in 5 games. So I think if you go out to London and you go ahead and you win both of those games as you should, and you come home and you get, I think October 27 is the Green Bay Packers at home.
Yeah.
I think that's the game to me that's going to tell me for sure what this team is going to be, because you've had some success in London. You're coming back. It's a long trip. Your body's going to adjust, and you've got one of the best teams in the NFC. You've got one of the best young quarterbacks in the league coming to your house. I need to see you play well in that game. I need to see you, at least have a chance to win that game at the back end of the game, to really kind of have a feeling for whether this team's going to be able to do something special this year or not. They can't come home and get the doors blown off like what happened, with San Francisco last year when they came out of the bye. So they've got to play well in that game. That is the game I've circled as one of the most important in the season.
The question of the day today asking who will be the Jaguars' best player in the secondary this year. So, Mike DiRocco, who will be the Jaguars' best player in the secondary this year?
Wow, what an unfair question that is, because we don't even know who's going to be playing in the secondary other than
a few of the names,
guys.
Yeah.
We do, yeah. I mean, who's going to be the best player in the secondary this year? Wow. I'm going to go Tyson Campbell.
Okay.
Because I think last year the injury impacted him maybe more than we know. And while he wasn't ascending to elite level cornerback in 2022, he did play pretty darn well. I mean, teams weren't not throwing at him, but he handled himself pretty well. A couple of picks that were pretty impressive. So I'm going to go with Tyson Campbell. I think he bounces back in a pretty significant way in 2024, and then then the Jags are faced with the decision of, hey, do we bring him back or do we let him walk?
2 important questions before we let you go. First of all, what are you working on over there for ESPN? And secondly, when does vacation time start for you, buddy?
I'm working on a story about, what a potential, contract for Trevor could be, and, what to sort of expect out of that and all the factors that go into that, because obviously there's, you're dealing with Tua, potential Dak, extension. Who knows what they do with Jordan Love, the Packers. So there's some, what do you get it done? How high of a annual salary do you give them? That kind of stuff. Can you justify it? That kind of stuff. And I had my vacation scheduled to start the 24th of June, but then the city council decided to screw that up, and apparently they're potentially going to vote on the stadium deal on the 25th. So I'm pushing it back a week. So the first week of July is when my vacation is going to start. So I didn't want to be on vacation and come back and have to sit at a city council meeting and write about the stadium getting approved and all that. So I just pushed it back to July.
Yeah, I hear you on that. We'll probably talk to you a few times between now and then. And by the time you're coming back from vacation, you better start doing your homework to get ready for the Breakfast Bowl again this year. That'll be creeping up on us soon by the time we're all taking all our vacations and then the players are out there for training camp. It's time, baby. That'll be football season time.
It's almost June, and it feels like I just got off the plane back from Nashville last week. I mean, this spring has just flown by, at least the way that it seems like to me. So, training camp is 2 months away, essentially?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think they would start right around this time. So, look at that. 2 months, and we're standing out there sweating. Going to be fun.
Yep. Back in the grind, no doubt about it. Mike DiRocco over there at ESPN. Thanks for your time this morning, man.
Appreciate it, Tony. Talk to you soon.
Yep, as there he goes. Glad he could join us here for a few minutes today. We'll put a bow on this episode of Jaguars Today by taking a look at the Chad and Sandy real estate question of the day. Who will be the Jaguars' best player in the secondary this year? The options we included in the poll were Tyson Campbell, Andre Sisco, Antonio Johnson, or you could vote for somebody else if you want. You can respond with the name of that player if you would like to. Pockets and I will discuss that as we'll wrap it up here on this Thursday edition of Jaguars Today, coming up next here on 1010XL.
Jaguars
Today
from the JOI studios at 1010XL. Wherever you go, we go.
Those are the rules. I didn't make them up.
Download the 1010XL and XL 92.5 FM apps for free on Apple and Android devices to listen anywhere in the world.
It may be the key to the whole plan. You get it? Got it. Good.
Why Arlington Toyota Pre-Owned? I'll tell you why. Over 600 vehicles in stock. One location. Check this out. More than 275 SUVs, over 200 cars, over 110 pickups. Arlington Pre-Owned even has 125 vehicles under $18,000. Plus, you get 60 days to love your purchase or exchange it, and Arlington's Credit for Everyone program. Oh, and did I mention? The Summer Starts Here sales event is going on right now, even on used. Shop 10939 at Knights Boulevard or online at arlingtontoyota.com.
Get this. Joey and me were supposed to go to this concert next week, right? But then something terrible happened. Joey was driving without a seatbelt. But he didn't wreck. No, he got pulled over. Now Joey has to pay for a seatbelt ticket instead of a concert ticket, and I have to go by myself. How lame is that? So Joey, if you're out there, you're an idiot. Wear your seatbelt or you'll get a ticket.
All across the country, cops are cracking down. Click it or ticket, day and night.
Funded by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Beer, water, beer. That's a pretty good game plan when it comes to battling the summer heat. When you hit the beach, fishing hole, or golf course, make sure you hydrate. Anheuser-Busch is always up for a good time. Just remember to drink responsibly.
Are you really even celebrating if you're not getting the Memorial Day meat sweats from Southern Steer Butcher? We're stocked and ready for you. Check out all of our Memorial Day specials online Wednesday to Monday.
For tasty tips and juicy breasts, choose Southern Steer Butcher.
A bucket of balls and free advice from PGA pros. Brunch with the Tour.
What's this about?
Dan, Jeff, and PGA Tour insiders.
It's a bit simplistic, but basically correct.
Brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation. 8:30 Tuesday morning on 1010XL.
Skilled trade jobs are booming, so begin your high-pay, high-demand career today through the Northeast Florida Builders Association. Their apprenticeship program provides paid training in some of the most highly sought-after skilled trades. Get paid while you train. Full-time in carpentry, electrical, HVAC, or plumbing. Plus, earn a 10% raise every year, and the classes are 100% tuition-free. Start your new career today and apply before June 10th at nefbaapprenticeship.org.
Yo, this is Tony from Tony D's. Are you looking for a great slice of pizza? Well, we have about 12 varieties. Most places won't have slices of pizza after lunch. At Tony D's, you can get a slice all day. It's always fresh at Tony D's Pizza. Bay Meadows and 295.
There are 3 certainties in life: death, taxes, and if you stay in your home long enough, a new roof. Pick it here for our friends at Lockhart Roofing. Nobody better in Jacksonville. How do I know? They are a local certified Master Elite contractor, and that means they have a GAF Master Elite warranty. That's the best in the roofing industry. In this day and age, don't settle for cheap or discount roofers. Lockhart Roofing has been here for decades. They aren't going anywhere. Call my friends at Lockhart Roofing, 994-3851. That's 994-3851. Lockhart Roofing, Jacksonville's best for Jacksonville people.
The 2024 season schedule is here, and so are single-game tickets. Don't miss your favorite matchups, and be at the bank when the Jaguars take on the biggest names in the NFL.
To the end zone, touchdown!
Don't miss a moment of the action during our exciting 30th season, and grab your single-game tickets today. Lock in seats for your favorite matchup now by going to Jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000.
Spring has sprung. What a great time to get your house ready forever. Stop paying for exterior paint that doesn't protect your home or business. Rhino Shield's beautiful durable coating never chip, crack, or peel. By the way, they back it up with a 25-year warranty. No mold, no mildew, no algae, all while saving you thousands compared to the cost of repainting it. Right now, 0% financing, up to 25% off. Never been easier to paint your home with Rhino Shield. Book your free estimate today at rhinoshieldjacks.com.
Bueller Air and Plumbing presents Are You Cool?
Today's contestant, an avocado consultant from Jacksonville, Florida, meet Dave Ortega. Okay, Dave, here's your question. Your house is not bad in the morning, but by the afternoon, your AC can barely keep up, even with the curtains closed. What do you do?
Can I buy a valve?
Not that kind of show, Dave.
Can I spin the wheel?
Yeah, we don't even have a wheel, Dave.
Can I phone a friend? Can I call Bueller?
That's right, Dave. Call Bueller Air and Plumbing to assess your home's airflow and sunlight patterns, and let us optimize your air conditioning so that you are cool.
This is the happiest day of my life.
Well, you gotta get out more, Dave.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
A Gain Scent Bead story. Jim was at the laundromat when he heard his ear said, "Maraca, senor," but his nose said, "Hey, freshest scent ever." Following his nose, Jim found a man pouring a bottle of Gain Scent Beads into the washer. The scent, the freshness. Jim blurted, "Sir, your scent Maraca smell amazing." Actually, Jim, most noses call them Gain Scent Beads. Try Gain Scent Beads, way fresher than detergent alone.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. This is Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Tony Smith, Dylan Tenmark here with you. About 10 minutes left here on this edition of Jaguars Today. We'll get to the Chad and Sandy real estate question of the day with a 10-10 take here in just a few moments. But I did ask DiRocco about, the kind of potential for a turning point game, right, in the Jaguars schedule. And he mentioned Green Bay coming back from London. They play the back-to-back games there in London against Chicago and New England. And then they get the home game against the Green Bay Packers. They're on October 27th. And I can remember in 2017 when the Jags defense came out firing that year. Obviously, that game in Houston, week 1, that's when Saxonville officially began. Was week 1 that year. Calais Campbell was an absolute monster in his Jaguars debut there. They knocked one quarterback out of that game, right, and got Deshaun Watson. It's crazy how much things have changed over the years there in Houston, but that was kind of the beginning of Saxonville, and then that season felt very up and down early on, right? And I can remember the road trip to Pittsburgh, and it was the first time that year coming out of that game at Pittsburgh, the way they won the game, like just the way that it felt throughout that entire game. I can remember that was the first time I was doing the pre-game on Sundays with Lauren and Blythe at the time, and I said it on air the next week when they were getting ready for their next game. I said, Jaguars are going to make the playoffs, right? That was still really early in the season. That's the way that it felt to me. You know, sometimes you do kind of have, there's some game that just gives you a sense for where things are. Now, I will admit that last year, the game that had that similar kind of feel to it for me was at Houston. When the Jaguars won that game, and it was a game that the Jaguars mostly had in control, in their hands the entire time. Houston had the comeback late. They had the field goal off the crossbar. The whole thing is the way that thing wound up going down. But it felt like coming out of that Houston game, whatever expectations you had for the 2023 Jaguars were still very much in play. And in fact, they never should have changed, right? It didn't matter what kind of ups and downs, peaks and valleys you felt like they may have had to that point in the year. Now, look, there's always space. The NFL is a cruel, cruel thing, right? There's always space for things to get way worse than whatever they are in the moment that you're in. But coming out of that Houston game last year, it felt like, okay, this is the team that I thought they were, right? Going into this entire campaign. Well, then the injuries with Trevor happened against Cincinnati and continue to pile up and up and up and up and up. And it ends the way that it ends. I don't think the Green Bay game is a bad pick for kind of that game that can tilt things one direction or the other. And I like DiRocco's reasoning for that as well. Because that is a really important stretch with the 4 NFC games right there in a row. They get all 4 of them out the way back to back to back to back. And the 2 home games in that stretch, yeah, especially Minnesota. Minnesota is a game that I would circle as they really can't lose this game if they expect to accomplish anything in the 2024 season. And I don't think Green Bay is very far behind that from the perspective of if they're going to accomplish whatever you think the ceiling is for the 2024 Jaguars. I don't think Green Bay is a bad game to circle coming out of the London trip before the bye. For this is one they need to get. It's at home. It's against a team that was a playoff team last year. It does seem to set some things in motion for the football team going into the back half of the schedule this year. You know, they had those kind of moments in 2022 as well, where it was less about here's what I think they need to do in today's game, and it was more this is the way things went early. And in the second half's all those comebacks that they had that year against Dallas and getting it to overtime and against Baltimore and willing to go for 2, right, to win the game as opposed to tie it and get it to overtime in that game. It's that those things kept falling the right way for the Jags. Let's see if they can create those kind of opportunities for themselves again here in 2024. The Chad and Sandy real estate question of the day today asking who will be the Jaguars' best player in the secondary this year. Your options, Tyson Campbell, Andre Sisco, Antonio Johnson, or somebody else. Let's get into it here with a little bit of a 10-10 take.
10-10 take. Now, Mike Dempsey's 10-10 take. Brought to you by Leonard Truck Accessories.
Mike Dempsey will be back in for the 10-10 take tomorrow here on the program. But the question, who will be the Jags' best player in the secondary this year? How would you define best, Pockets? Who would you answer in this question, and how would you define best?
I'm going to go with Tyson Campbell. With corner, it's kind of hard because you can affect a game but have nothing in the box score. And I guess you could a little bit in the safety too, but a safety usually can come down in the box and make a couple tackles. I just think Tyson Campbell's going to come back to what he was 2 years ago when the Jags made the playoffs. And I think Tyson Campbell, it's a contract year. And like we talked earlier in the week with Josh Allen last year, we had all these sorts of injuries from a lot of players, and we never saw Josh Allen on the injury report, I don't think, because he was trying to play for a contract. You're not having these little injuries that are going to keep you on the sideline or have you on the injury report throughout the practice week because you're playing, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I think Tyson Campbell's going to do the same thing. But I just think Tyson's going to get back to that, covering that number one receiver, traveling with him, and just not giving up the big plays that you see from corners at times. I just think Tyson Campbell. If I had to go to, it'd be Andre Sisco.
Yeah. Look, I think you can. Again, it's however you want to judge it, right? You can look at 2022 for Tyson Campbell. He had 15 passes defensed, and that's coming off 10 during his rookie year. He missed a couple of games his rookie year, played all 17. The following year, had 15 passes defense. The knock on Tyson Campbell in his rookie year was he just couldn't find the ball in the air, right? It wasn't that he was out of position a lot. He just couldn't find the ball in the air. Last year, a lot of those kind of things kind of reared their head again. The issues that you thought would be behind him kind of reared their head again, but it's hard to know how much of that was, he's playing through an injury last season, and how much did that really affect him? I think, we don't give Andre Sisco enough credit, I think, for what he's done in these last couple of years, because it does feel hidden in some ways. He's got 7 interceptions the last 2 seasons that he's played as a starter, right? That's big. Including a pick 6 against Philadelphia there in 2022. I think I would vote Andre Sisco because I do believe he's going to be a very impactful player for the Jaguars in the secondary. I think he's the guy that can be around whatever turnovers the Jaguars are going to force. I am a little bit more doubtful of Tyson Campbell, obviously way more doubtful of Tyson Campbell going into this year than I was going into last year and what to expect out of him. I think he's a good, not great player at the cornerback position. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't like to see him back here beyond the 2024 season, and what exactly that's going to look like, I think is hard to figure out. But he's a player that last offseason, we would have been having all kinds of discussions right now about whether they need to get the long-term deal done with Tyson Campbell or use the franchise tag on him next year, right? We'd be having those discussions over and over and over again. And have we had that discussion yet this year, right? Like, we're not talking about that when it comes to Tyson Campbell. It's not that I don't think that the Jags are interested in bringing him back, but I think the 2023 season did create some questions potentially for Tyson Campbell that we didn't all have. Tyson Campbell, by the way, leading the poll this morning with almost 48% of the vote. Andre Sisco second with 34%. Antonio Johnson, who is really interesting, right? That's a guy that can play safety or kind of that slot corner for him. See how much they're going to be willing to move him around, and played pretty well as a rookie, all things considered, or someone else, and we'll see what that looks like. You could go with whoever you want to. Obviously, with that, there are options. Ronald Darby, what is your expectation for him? Darnell Savage, Jarian Jones got a few votes from people I saw. I had Jarian Jones as my 5th favorite addition to the Jaguars defense or Jaguars team throughout this offseason. So I'm excited about Jarian Jones. I'm curious to see where exactly they want to use him, especially early on in this season. We only got to wait a couple months until we can find out the real answers to those kind of questions. That'll do it for us here today on Jaguars Today. Mike Dempsey will be back with us on the show tomorrow as he continues with his assignment for the next 30 seconds or so until he's back in with us tomorrow for Jaguars Today. Tom McManus will join us for the show tomorrow as well. So for Mike DiRocco, who joined us on the phone line, for Pockets, Dylan Denmark, for myself, Tony Smith, Helmets and Heels comes up next. You're listening to Jaguars Today on 1010XL.